BM8 UNFILTERed. 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 BM8 UNFILTEred.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of BM8 Unfiltered, and we've loved your contribution to this particular program. We've loved how you've interacted with us on the various platforms. If you're joining us on the Brian Mundubile Facebook page, remember you're leaving your comments so that you can actually interact with Honorable Brian Mundubile, who is the Tonse Alliance chairman and presidential candidate for 2026 general election come August 13th. You are part of this show as much as we are here in studio. The show was created for you to interact with Honorable Brian Mundubile. I am your host. My name is Bochi, and we get straight into it. How's been your week, and how have you been?
The week has been good, Buchi. Very busy. We've been busy up and down. The week has started. Of course, I also want to just greet my people out there. Senanga, Mongu, Luchwani, Tsolwezi, Chavuma, Kabompo, Tujivye P, Mkwai Mwewe na Luwingu na Miposha, Mdeti Mulishani, Abena Chipata Tilibwanji, Kwa Mugubudu, Mulibwanji uko. Namiche abonse munochungulo pautukwato kulanshanya kweli ashi tumfwe efo mwikele na ine mumfwe efyo njikele.
Remember, BM8 Unfiltered is live on the Brian Mundubile Facebook page, on the Ifinto Nilungu Facebook page. It's also live on YouTube. Just go to your YouTube search browser and then search for BM8 Unfiltered, and it will come up, and you can actually listen there, depending on where. You know, it's much clearer, much easier for you to stream and get interactive with us. After that, let's get straight into the conversation for today. The Tonse Alliance is gaining momentum. There's a lot of conversation around the country. There's Tonse fever, so to speak. Let's get to speak about the meeting you chaired recently with the Council of Leaders. How did it go? What was the objective of the whole meeting?
Well, the Council of Leaders meeting that I chaired on Saturday went very well. There were a number of issues that we discussed. And of course, I did make appointments, various members to different committees, as it were. Of course, it's work in progress. We are yet to appoint other members to various committees to make sure that the alliance is fully functional. Concerns were raised at a meeting concerning the maneuvers that ECZ is trying to make by coming up with amendments to the Act a few months before the elections. And of course, we had occasion to receive new members. The alliance is growing every day. We are receiving members joining the alliance every other day. So it was a very exciting time, especially that was my first meeting that I chaired.
Very great. Let's start with the first thing, the matter at hand. The president recently spoke, and this was at the mining Indaba in Cape Town. And he said quite a number of things, but in his keynote address, there was this narrative created that the mining industry is doing very well. The economy has rebounded, projected to 6.4 growth for 2026, and inflation down to a single digit. He also spoke about value addition in the mining sector. Well, there seems to be a mismatch, because now the conversation is around how come these benefits are not really going down to the ordinary Zambian, which leads me to ask, what is your strategy to ensure that Zambians are getting the full benefit from Zambia's mining industry if you're put into power?
Yes, Buchi, as Ton said, our starting point has always been Nakulumutinta Pamakasa. That's basic. So let's get down to what the president said and how it affects Nakulumutinta, so to speak. Well, firstly, everything put together, all the good things that he said put together, do not seem to have affected Nakulumutinta Pamakasa positively, because Nakulumutinta's living standards keep on going down. An average Zambian today, is facing a number of challenges just to survive. So it's one thing to say the mining sector is doing well. It's yet another, to see how that is affecting the Zambian people. So maybe the question to ask, which is, if the mining sector is doing fine, on whose side? Okay, is it on the investor side or the Nakulumutinta side, the citizen side? The best case scenario, Buchi, nilirea kwebati ilo tukeshibati mu mine na tukwatamo ubukumu nangu benefit nilira ba investor abaleteli olupia basenda mo profit, but na bena Zambia nabo bale munefirefu mamo. You can't have it one side. We hear these very good statements made by our president, especially when he goes out there. So the question really to ask, where is the Zambian there? Nakulumutinta lipi. Ushe uliana kulumutinta. Uli kwa mugubudu. Alesunga beshikulu bakwe. Abana bako bonse balifwa n'abalume. Ba president ngabatila, the mining sector is doing well. Ushe nakulumutinta alesenda ila 8 bags of fertilizer. Nangwale poka fertilizer muli meda. Ushe nakulumutinta. Na kwato musebo wa kutipa kuleta fertilizer bale ikisha mpepi ne paleka na kulumutinta. Busho ina kulumutinta. Ishindala mashirefu makumaini. Na shikula masukulu mupepi na pa mugubudu pakuti alenda pakutwala bana kuskulu. Ngefi patala. Na mfumeni ndalama muli inda mashirefu makumaini. Okukule fipatala fya kuti na kulumutinta enlainde ntanfu itali. Abanyanja abanandi bambuya bandi uyu mbuya mutinta ndaba ba president wakakamba kuti the mining sector is doing well, mining sector ichitabwino tifiti kuorganiza muzimaye uja mbuya ali na bazukulu asunga bazukulu pa nyumba ndaba pamuna bake wanafa vana bake nao wanafa namusila bazukulu. So unakulumutinta ayangana ku government kuti government izamba kumutandiza izaika fertilizer zambo tenga ili 8 distance kupita ku skulu pakutapeleka bazukulu pasankala pafupi nda government inapanga maskulu pafupi o vipatala makliniki nayo yali pafupi mu clinic muja mlimankwala na kulumutinta mukamufunza kuti uteko osebenza bwanje azakamba kuti no aba investor wanabwela kuma mine kuma sebenza bwino ndaba pakasebenza bwino na government nayo itsebenza bwino. So if Nakulumutinta Pamakasa is complaining every day and the president is saying the mining sector is doing well, he may be right. He may be right in that the investors are walking away with everything. I want to say this, and this is something I'm very passionate about. Right from the beginning, the Minister of Finance on 30th of October 2021 was delivering his budget speech. He mentioned that he was going to reduce mineral royalty tax from 6% to 3%, and that he was going to make mineral royalty tax deductible. We all got very concerned because he went further to say as a result of that, government was going to lose revenue to the tune of $600 million. And then we asked him, we said, Minister Stumbeko, you came into this government saying that the government was broke, the treasury was empty, but you're already giving out concessions. What capacity do you have to lose $600 million just like that? And his answer was that, look, we are encouraging the mining sector, to ramp up production to about 3 million tons by 2031, meaning that by 5 years down the line, by 2026, we should really have been somewhere around 1.6, 1.7 million tons, if for sure the incentives that were given to the mining sector were to promote and encourage production. Today, we have even failed to go to 1 million tons. Remember that the production in the mining sector has been hovering around 800,000 metric tons. We're still there, we haven't moved. So, on the other side, the Ghanaian president was in this country, in government just for a year. The policies they put in place, they are now boasting that they're able to bank $10 billion from gold alone. You've got so much gold everywhere. Gold in Mumbwa, everywhere, the whole country is gold. And the president's speech was very rare. It's not quantified. He's not telling us where the money is or where he's getting the money. So if you compare what the Ghanaian president said and what our president has said, for sure you have something to worry about. The president simply said, the Ghanaian president said something that I think you should pay attention to. He said execution and not excuses. Execution and not excuses. So we've gotten used to this. It's speeches year in, year out. As Tonse were saying, it will be execution and not excuses. If we talk about the mining sector doing well, we must be able to demonstrate to the Zambian people the positive impact that the mining sector, the proceeds from the mining sector have had on an average Zambian. So ours is the net benefit. What's the net benefit? We want investment. We encourage investment. But we'll ensure to say from every investment, an average Zambian gets the benefit. So far, I don't think we're getting the benefit out of this mining sector.
Well, he did speak about certain mines that were not functional becoming functional. So maybe that's one area where he's saying, look, we've managed the benefit. We've broken deadlocks. We have brought back mines that were not where we had gone that were not functional for some time.
I have reservations. Some of those statements. My investigation gives a totally different picture, but that's a topic for another day. But like I said, that it's not enough. How many times has the president talked about reopening this mine? Okay, we're talking about the president from Ghana who's only been in government for 1 year, just 1 year. The president started talking about reopening these mines 3 years ago. So these mines have been open the past 3 years. There's no production. We haven't heard what an average Zambian will get. Yeah, so we are talking about a rich country. We are talking about a sector, the mining sector, that this country relied upon soon after independence. You were too young to know that maybe, but I know for sure that every other Zambian my age knows what the mining sector was able to do for this country. Yeah, so his speeches, as Ton say, I think Zambians have had enough of that.
Let's move and talk about the corruption perception index score, which declined to 2 points in 2025, falling from 39 out of 100 in 2024 to 37 out of 100. So for those that do not know, basically the corruption perception index is a measure from 0 to 100. The closer you are to 0, it means that you are more corrupt. The higher you go, the less corruption there is. And this particular measure is for the public sector. how the public sector is handling funds and how the public sector is basically doing business, and that is measured and that is able to be tabulated, and you get a perception index from Transparency International, Zambia, and across the world. Let's talk about this particular one. Moving from 39 out of 100 in 2024, and moving to 37 out of 100 in 2025. What do you feel about that, and how does that look to you?
Well, that is expected. As a matter of fact, if you ask me, I thought it should have been much closer to zero than we currently are. And I'll tell you why. The President Hakainde Hichilema, when in opposition, he campaigned based on the fight against corruption. And he really went about with that. So he was getting his facts or figures from maybe the FIC report, and just out of maybe social media. He came in as a champion that was going to fight and combat corruption. What have we seen? Look at the health sector, for instance. The corruption in the health sector that was actually called out. The American ambassador actually shed tears when he talked about the corruption that was going on in the health sector. Our funders, okay, the cooperating partners, even made a demand. They demanded that the key players in this corruption should be fired. And most of these even started reporting to Anti-Corruption Commission. Today, what is the story? The story has died a natural death. They did some cosmetic dismissals, which the ambassador said these were small fish that were involved. They were talking about big fish, people at minister level. Because I'm a member of parliament, I interact with the minister. I even knew that ministers were reporting to Anti-Corruption Commission. And this was confirmed by the acting DG that time, that yes, there were a number of ministers that were reporting to the Anti-Corruption Commission. So on one hand, there were confirmed cases of corruption in the health sector. On the other hand, there were ministers that may have been reporting to SCC to be interrogated about the corruption in the health sector. What has happened today? Zero. What did you see when SCC was zeroing in on these MPs? The board was dissolved, the DG was fired, and the whole SCC was just dismantled. A pliant SCC was assembled so that they could ignore cases like that. Look at the energy sector, for instance. Look at what is going on, in the energy sector. Let's start with the petroleum subsector. Our friends in the EPND were able to give the entire pipeline to friends to import fuel and charge a premium to poor Zambians to pay. It took the IMF to intervene and demand that the use of the pipeline should be competitive, especially that the law provided for open access. So we saw prices dropping from about $120 per ton to about $65. So that was 3 years later, Ebuchi. We had been paying a premium on fuel for 3 years, and people were pocketing that. Corrupt colleagues within the EPND. Today, you've got some middlemen importing electricity and trading in power. What are they riding on? They're riding on tariffs that are charged at a premium. Remember, Buchi, that the Minister of Energy came to Parliament and requested to get approval for emergency tariffs. Remember, this was for a limited period. Little did we know that they were trying to create a profit margin for their friends, the criminals, stealing from the Zambian people. So I'm not surprised that the corruption index is showing what it's showing. So these are just the two sectors. Look at the education sector, for instance. We sit in committees where there are revelations to the effect that a PS awards a contract to himself and even pays, and that PS is merely dismissed and not prosecuted. Okay? Why are they not prosecuting that PS? Because he knows too much. The whole team is a team of corrupt individuals. So they don't want to tamper with one of their own because he's going to spill the beans. Look at the mining sector. Colleagues in the EPND will come to you and move the entire mine free of charge to their friends. When you ask them, they say, no, we haven't sold the shares. No, we haven't transferred the shares. We ask them why they didn't come to Parliament to get approval. They say, no, we haven't sold any shares. But by actions border on corruption. And you see, there's no government, there's no decent government that will take over from the UPND that will not re-look at the transaction concerning the Mopani mine. Then there'll be no corruption to talk about. There's no decent government that would come and not review agreements like one on the Ndola dual carriageway. So the list goes on. The most unfortunate part is that we are dealing with people that spoke so loudly about corruption, promising the Zambian people that we're going to fight corruption. And like I said, Buchi, remember President Hakainde Hichilema. I think at one time, I remember clearly, I was government chief whip at that time. And that year, it must have been 2020, 2019, there was a figure of about 2 billion kwacha of suspicious transactions reported in the FIC report. And President Hakainde Hichilema lifted that figure. He went to all the radio stations and he called all of us in the PF thieves on account of these suspicious transactions. There's 2 billion suspicious transactions. These thieves, Mashulio, Wakawalala. Today, Buchi, there are reports of $3.5 billion, not kwacha, my brother. This was 2 billion kwacha. There's $3.5 billion suspicious transactions in the FIC report. There is 60 billion kwacha suspicious transactions in the FIC report. There is 13.5 billion kwacha suspicious transactions in the FIC report. There's 5.8 billion kwacha suspicious transactions. All this has happened in the past 4 years with the UPND. Then my son one day asked me, he said, so what do you want to call them? They called everybody in government, over 2 billion kwacha. They called them thieves, masholi, and so on. And then $3.5 billion, 60 billion kwacha, 5.8 billion, 13.5. What do you want to call them? I could not answer.
Let's look at how, because August 13th is nearing. Yeah. You become president when people vote for you on that particular day. How are you going to resolve this? How are you going to ensure that there's very little corruption or there's no corruption at all in especially in the public sector? Because that particular one concerns the people. It's the people's money that is at stake. And how will you ensure that there's no corruption when you take office come August 13th, 2026?
To respond to that, Buchi, I'll borrow the words of the Ghanaian president. I was really inspired by his speech, so I keep referring to it. You know, I could see a president, running a country moving forward. He said, African countries do not need strong men. They need strong institutions. Even in this particular case, we need strong institutions. Once the Anti-Corruption Commission is strengthened, it starts with appointments, for instance. It starts with a reporting structure. It's got to be foolproof. If, as a president, you indeed want to fight corruption, there is no reason why a report from the SEC cannot be presented to you and to Parliament at the same time. Hello? Like the audit report. We receive it at the same time. The time is presented to Parliament, is also presented to the President. So if you're really serious about fighting corruption, let the anti-corruption time. Why do you do that? So that one, the people's representatives immediately have access to this report to see exactly the extent of the corruption that is involved. That is one. Number two, appointments to the board and indeed management. You have a case now where the president appoints the board and he also appoints the DG. So you have challenges there. So the board literally has no power over the Director General, as it were. So there are certain reforms that have to happen to strengthen institutions that fight corruption. Then we'll be very serious about the fight against corruption.
Let's move and talk about the countdown to August 13, because now, as it's nearing, ECZ is heightening its preparation for the elections. And this involves legislative processes with the proposed controversial amendments in the electoral process. Why are you opposed to the bill?
You see, like I said, first of all, great nations, a nation's greatness is judged from its fidelity to the law, fidelity to the Constitution. If you look at the proposed amendments and you look at the enabling legislation, the existing act, you see a misalignment. Then immediately you realize that the UPND are so sure that they're going to lose the elections in August this year. They're very sure about that. They're very sure and they have the right to believe they're going to lose. So now they begin to make maneuvers, what maybe my dear brother, fellow counsel Cornelius Mwetwa, would call imingalato reloaded or things of that nature. They want to amend the law to literally legislate rigging. They want to legislate illegalities. They want to legislate imingalato. Uchi, we're just from talking about corruption. You see, corruption many a time has been looked at in a narrow sense. If you were to look at corruption in a broader sense, you are really talking about actions, that involve private and public interest. Actions that tend to favor private interest over and above public interest can be said to be corruption. And this will include administration, policy, and legislation. I want you to really understand this. You know that those that are in power can actually come to parliament, push amendments so that you legislate corruption. You legislate imingalato, as it were. So that tomorrow, when you ask them to say, how come there is no stamp behind this ballot paper? They said, but that's according to the law. Are we together? And yet, these are some of the safeguards. How will you tell that this ballot paper is not authentic? There should be a stamp to show that some electoral officer, had put a stamp behind it. In case of a recount. So they're trying to do and remove all that. Then because they've compromised certain institutions like the Registrar of Societies, they now want to come in and say only the Secretary General should sign adoption certificates or nomination papers, because they know to say they've already locked that office. There are no changes to that office. They will compromise the few individuals who are serving as SGs today, so that tomorrow people are stranded. They could abduct that SG. They've done that before. People have gone missing. Some are still missing. And then people cannot file the nomination papers. The question really is, what's the motivation? President Hakainde Hichilema, I want to appeal to you, my dear brother. There is no need for all this. We are a constitutional democracy. Zambians must be given a choice to choose their leaders. Let's not hang on to these technicalities to try and frustrate people in their choices. President Hakainde Hichilema, why should you go through all this? You had a chance, my dear brother. You had a chance. The Zambian people gave you 5 years. You have failed lamentably. So now is not time for you to go and start somersaulting and beginning to change things so that you disfranchise the Zambian people.
As a key player in this process, what is your message to ECZ as far as achieving public trust ahead of the August 2026 general election?
They should withdraw. They should withdraw the bill and stop the Mingalato at once. This is about the Zambian people. It's not about ECZ. We've raised concerns. We raised concerns right from the beginning that ECZ cannot be said to be independent when at the helm of ECZ, all you have are party functionaries from the UPND. People are sitting in the Central Committee of the UPND at the helm of ECZ. When you talk about independence, Buchi, They should not only be independent, but be seen to be independent. No matter how much they try to be independent, they cannot be seen to be independent with the people at the helm of it, because these are functionaries of the EPND. This is why you see them sponsoring bills such as this. Very, very, very unfortunate indeed. But Zambians must demand more from their democracy. Zambians should demand more from the constitutional democracy. You cannot sit back and not speak to the ills that we're seeing today. Zambia should not be taken for granted forever. Zambians must understand that elections are there to provide choices. When one is elected into power, they are given a term of office. In that period, they can either perform and remain in power, or once they fail, they are removed from power so that another set of leaders can come in and improve the livelihoods of the Zambian people. So you don't want to go against these safeguards. You don't want to go against the safeguards that we chose for ourselves. We are a democracy. We are saying if you perform ikalanga ingailelanga tukakusala tukakuwekeshamu nga wafirwa kukufumia wakainde ichilema bene ebalela ndati ubuteko nga bwafirwa okubombera abantu bafile bafumyapo uli obuteko nibakainde bene balelanda so nabafirwa ni finish balatulanga ba president akainde ichilema nga twaya kuli scoreboard ya wali tubunga bakabwisha pali 50 kwacha nabakoma pa ni noto baleti fertilizer kwa pai 250 nabakoma ni noto baleti mkwai ntweno few ika pai 10 kwacha nabakoma ni noto iyo tukala pela 8 bags bale pela mumemeda ni noto finshi bale tueba load shedding and load shedding ni noto iyo corruption and corruption na wafirwa ni noto so kanshi tapali nangu pamupo mwinga sengulu ila hiyo nangu wale foku bafo buchi tapali fo winga chita ule mfo buchi there's nothing you can do. They failed on all fronts. What they've remained with are just well-decorated speeches when they go out there, to impress the world. You should draw very serious examples. Listen to his counterpart, the Ghanaian president. They were talking about what they are doing. You actually see the progress that they're making. Quantified, challenging anyone. This is what we've been able to do. This is what we did. And you're able to see differences. They're talking about independence of institutions, strengthening institutions. In the case of Zambia, it's the exact opposite. President Hakainde Hichilema has done everything in his power to weaken institutions. The courts now can't even render judgments for years. Simple matters. That's the country that we're in today. You can't register a party because President Hakainde Hichilema is so scared of competition. You can't go today and make changes to maybe the office bearers at Registrar of Societies. You can't. If the Registrar of Societies does that, they are fired the very following day. So all those institutions are weakened. Members of Parliament can't debate on the floor of the House anymore before the presiding officers intercept. I have never seen that kind of presiding before. That Parliament, had that Parliament been functioning, if that Parliament had been functioning, the cost of electricity would not be as expensive as it is today. If that Parliament had been functioning, we would not have allowed a Minister of Agriculture to export maize and leave us in insecurity insofar as food security is concerned. If that Parliament was functioning, many of our people that are rotting in prison today will not be in prison. But because the entire legislature is collapsed, the judiciary is collapsed. It's a fused system. You don't tell the difference. You can't tell the difference. They're able to choreograph their activities. It's a very, very sad state of affairs. And I wonder how President Hakainde Hichilema was feeling when his counterpart was delivering his address on the floor of the House.
You're watching BM8 Unfiltered, and we're still taking those particular questions. Make sure you keep sending those. Leave them in the comment section, and we'll be able to address those particular questions. Honorable Brian Mundubile, who is Tonse Alliance President for 2026 general election, is going to respond to each and every one of you. So make sure you send those particular questions. You can send them to our WhatsApp, which is currently on the screen. That's below the screen. send those particular questions to that WhatsApp, and we'll be able to have a look at those. But, Honorable, let's speak on the general feeling that the opposition doesn't have enough time to solicit votes come August 2026. How do you respond to that, seeing that every day that passes, we're getting closer to the date for the 2026 elections?
I don't think that's correct. The votes are already there, Buchi. The votes are already there. The Zambian people are decided. The Zambian people have made a decision that the UPND must go. President Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND must go. Those are votes. Are you with me? They've been waiting for an alternative. Tonse had a congress not very long ago and elected a leader. I sit here as a president for the Tonse Alliance, a candidate for the Tonse Alliance. And we are here to offer alternative policy. We are here to offer hope to the Zambian people. And that is the reason why central to our policy formulation will be Nakulumutinta Pamakasa. We are looking at for interests of the youths, interests of women, interests of miners, interests of civil servants, interests of farmers, and many other people that have suffered at the hands of the UPND. We are here to tell the Zambian people that we will not come here with empty promises. We will speak to you with practical solutions. We want to deal with practical solutions, things you can look at. If we talk about the economy, Buchi, we're not going to talk about confuse people with figures of macroeconomic fundamentals. Tatokulala ndefyo yo, nga tuenda pali economy, twalangusha, tuenda pali fertilizer, tuenda pabunga, nga tuenda tumutengo wa bunga ukapona. We should be able to explain to you how we make that possible. Nga tulesa agriculture sector, tuleme okuti umutengo wa malai wala chipa. Tatuleisa na makakileta ya ufina ma formula tulelenga pa board kula fulunganya abantu yo. We are coming in, we are looking at the economy that affects the Zambian people. We are not focused on the economy that affects the investors and other foreign interests. The economy that we're going to look at, which is a primary effort, is the economy that affects the Zambian people. And the economy that affects the Zambian people yearns and demands for employment creation as a beginning, as a starting point. Once we create jobs, people will be able to fight poverty. Those are simple things that we're going to have to deal with. We will not go into these big things, promising people things that will never happen. It's 5 years later now. People are still starving. The poverty levels have actually gone up. Yeah, so when you talk about numbers, the real opposition the Zambian people have, and the real opposition the PND has are the Zambian people. And we've come in as Tonse to give the Zambian people hope. I am going to assemble a team of men and women of impeccable repute to be able to tackle the different challenges that this economy faces.
Let's talk, just before we get into the comment section, as we go to the comments, the questions that you've been sending, we will be getting to those. But just before we go to those particular questions, just assure the people, as well as the Tonse Alliance membership, on opposition unity and how you plan to ensure that the entire opposition is united under Tonse.
Yes, as you may have been monitoring, there's jubilation right across the country. I'm sure if you're monitoring social media, we are beginning to bring people together. Most of those people that you are seeing endorsing the Tonse Alliance president are not coming from one political party. They're actually coming from many other political parties. So the unity is actually starting from the grassroots. And as people come together, even their leaders will definitely come together so that we work as one. That is our priority, like I promised you last time. I already started reaching out to fellow opposition leaders for them to see that indeed we do not have time to begin to quarrel and differ. We really have no time to do that. We have to offer hope, and I believe that together we can do this.
It's now time for you to interact with Honorable Brian Mundubile. We take a short break. When we do come back, you get to have a conversation with Honorable Brian Mundubile. All the questions that you've sent through, unfiltered, He responds to each one of them and addresses them. And together, you and him will build a better Zambia through your suggestions and what you feel is burning on your heart this evening. We take a short break and we come back. He responds to you.
Hello, Zambia. My name is Brian Mundubile. As a leader, my duty is clear: to listen without fear and to speak the truth without compromise and to stand firmly with the people of this nation. Join me every Friday at 20 hours for BM8 Unfiltered. You can watch live on Facebook and YouTube. For too long, politicians have done all the talking without listening to you. I want to change that. I'm ready to listen. Whether in the village or in the city, I want to hear from you. Record a short 6-second video, audio question or message, and send it to the WhatsApp number below. And I'll be sure to answer it during the BM8 Unfiltered show on Friday. Tell me how you want Zambia to work for you. Nothing is off limits. Let's build the future of this country together. Hello, Zambia. My name is Brian Mundubile. As a leader, my duty is clear: to listen without fear and to speak the truth without compromise and to stand firmly with the people of this nation. Join me every Friday at 20 hours for BM8 Unfiltered. You can watch live on Facebook and YouTube. For too long, politicians have done all the talking without listening to you. I want to change that. I'm ready to listen. Whether in the village or in the city, or message and send it to the WhatsApp number below. And I'll be sure to answer it during the BM8 Unfiltered show on Friday. Tell me how you want Zambia to work for you. Nothing is off limits. Let's build the future of this country together. Hello, Zambia. My name is Brian Mundubile. As a leader, my duty is clear: to listen without fear and to speak the truth without compromise and to stand firmly with the people of this nation. Join me every Friday at 20 hours for BM8 Unfiltered. You can watch live on Facebook and YouTube. For too long, politicians have done all the talking without listening to you. I want to change that. I'm ready to listen. Whether in the village or in the city, I want to hear from you. Record a short 6-second video, audio question or message, and send it to the WhatsApp number below. And I'll be sure to answer it during the BM8 Unfiltered show on Friday. Tell me how you want Zambia to work for you. Nothing is off limits. Let's build the future of this country together. Hello, Zambia. To listen without fear and to speak the truth without compromise and to stand firmly with the people of this. For too long, politicians have done all the talking without listening to you. I want to change that. I'm ready to listen. Whether in the village or in the city, I want to hear from you. Record a short 6-second video, audio question or message, and send it to the WhatsApp number below. And I'll be sure to answer it during the BM8 Unfiltered show on Friday. Tell me how you want Zambia to work for you. Nothing is off limits. Let's build the future of this country together. Hello, Zambia. My name is Brian Mundubile. As a leader, my duty is clear: to listen without fear and to speak the truth without compromise and to stand firmly with the people of this nation. Join me every Friday at 20 hours for BM8 Unfiltered. You can watch live on Facebook and YouTube. For too long to listen. Whether in the village or in the city, I want to hear from you. Record a short 6-second video, audio question or message, and send it to the WhatsApp number below. And I'll be sure to answer it during the BM8 Unfiltered show on Friday. Tell me how you want Zambia to work for you. Nothing is off limits. Let's build the future of this country together. Hello, Zambia.
Welcome back. You're watching BM8 Unfiltered, and we're here with Tonse Alliance President and 2026 presidential candidate for the Tonse Alliance. Come August 13, you will be putting a vote on his name to lead this country forward. The question is, do you have suggestions? And what are those particular suggestions? You've sent them in the comment section, and it's time for him to respond to those particular questions that you've been sending. Let's get started. The first one says, my question is twofold. Are we going to see a revolutionary kind of leadership come August 13, 2026? With the discovery of, and the second question is, with the discovery of gold in the mother Zambia, are we going to see foreigners continue to be given favorable conditions as opposed to indigenous Zambians, or will abundance of our natural resources benefit every single Zambian, every single citizen, basically? So I think you can start with that one.
What's the name of the person there?
This is Jacob.
Jacob. So Jacob, ili ashiria gold ili, not kwatama good examples. If you are pitamo, if you are pitamo, what you may call best practices. The first thing, you go to Zambia. Yasango Zambia. First beneficiary would feel like if you realize the benefit of Zambia, especially the youths. Pantueva ibimba mudi ashira kuchita mine gold. So tualila ndapo before ukutila there has to be a structured way to deal with mining of gold. Quick examples I gave, I think in the last program, was that firstly, there has to be some government intervention in most of these areas. You go to Mpika, you've got maybe 4, 5, 10,000 people, they're mostly youths, that are mining gold. Then you ask yourself a question: is there a government in this particular area? What's government's involvement? So how does government get involved? Government will get involved, first of all, to bring in the surveying capabilities, because those people are already there, employed by government. Okay? Once government establishes the quantum of material, of mineral that is there, they begin to structure people into cooperatives. Once they have done that, they empower them with equipment. They empower them with skills and training. Then they also provide aggregators. So there's a very smooth way of doing it. And remember, like in other cases, in other countries, at the end of it, government itself becomes an off-taker of this particular gold. And it adds to the reserves. That's what other people are doing. So there has to be some government involvement in resolving these challenges of gold and be able to assist the citizens. So in cases where it's been properly done, government benefits and the citizens also benefit. The aspect of illegalities only come in because the activity is not structured. Ubuteko nga watalukako ukomule mulefukula gold. Elio ubuteko buleisa femku mitamfia na mafuti nefia shala tefyo waikalefyo yo. Government ifolo kushiwo kuti abechi wale imbila gold. Kunchendo kwa utakuwa bamayanda, utakuwa bifimbusu nefia shala. Ubuchushu. Elo government ya ipisa question. Nga ifwe luwa linshitola senda mamulifi. Ulu waliwa government wakwete. Amake yota mwinga kwata Jacob. Na wakwata surveying equipment, surveying capabilities and skills. To survey. Pantolimu walimu emisepela bemba fena guesswork. Wale chula fie. But government is able to come in and map the area, survey the area. Nokutila banyangu mwali 4,000. Inchen depano ikwete gold ili 250 hectares. So tualamo kula miputuila po, utuma mine, muma area zemo tumuene ili. Tulechita avoid mulamu shidi pa utamule chula yo. At the same time, tuala michita provide equipment. Nawa kuchita uplift. That's what a government is there to save its people. You know, a government is not there to merely move in na force. No. Government must understand that these are problems. Whether we like it or not, we can call them illegal, whatever. But the Zambians, how can we best help? That's what governments are there for. And as Ton said, that's exactly what our approach will be to things of this nature.
Joe says, good evening, Mr. President. My name is Joseph Muowo in Mafinga, Muchinga province. Mr. President, my question is, what are you going to do about the youths, more especially why more especially because the youths are the ones that put President HH in office. Now we have discovered that that nothing is working under President Hakainde Hichilema. What are you going to do about the youths, basically?
The first thing I'll do, Joseph, the first thing I'll do is that I'll listen to the youths. Difference ilipo, Bali was telling the youths, nkachitefi. He never listened to the youths. Ine as a big brother, you can call me Biggie, okay? Me as Biggie, I'll listen. Babuchi, mwaikala shan. How do you think I can help? Because like I said last time, in most cases, the youths actually have solutions to their problems. As government, we are coming in with capacity, because we are government, to sort out the challenges that you're facing in various areas. So, there are two ways. Nanguni mulupa, kulabat na ukwataba wisokulu, your grandfather, na ukwataba wiso, ile kwa na ukwatana big brother. Mukasanga ati wawiso no wawiso bafika fe iwe ndefo ka ikuzedenes ndefo ka be musoja ndefo ka be fi wale sabaira fe. But your big brother will say, my son, what do you want to be? So take me as your big brother, take me as your biggie, the biggie. The biggie, and therefore the biggie will hear you, and then you'll be able to find solutions together. So in general, the difference will be the biggie will sit with young brother and young sister and be able to listen to what they want to do.
Well, you've heard it from him. The biggie is willing to listen. Send those particular questions and he will answer those particular questions. The big brother is here. On the other aspect, the issue of financing for small businesses. How do you plan to make sure that entrepreneurs are the cornerstone of your economy as you come into office?
Yes, thank you very much. I think last time we had a chat, Puchi, and we said that as Tonse, we agreed with the position our friends took to set up a ministry for small and medium enterprises. That was a very good initiative, but they didn't plan to the end. Okay, so with such a ministry, you will not be complete without being deliberate or setting up a financial institution that specifically favors this particular ministry. So small businesses normally find it very difficult to survive because the cost of borrowing is very high, and sometimes they're unable, to assemble bankable documents to present before a bank for these banks to give them finance. So what is government's role? Government's intervention is coming up with a financial institution, a bank, that is tailored to promote people under this ministry, small businesses under this ministry. You see, Buchi, you must understand, government is not there to compete with citizens. Government is there to facilitate for citizens. Government is supposed to be very deliberate. Government programs are supposed to be designed with a desired outcome. So if our goal is to create employment, and we've got young entrepreneurs like the ones that Joseph Moore was talking about, we should already be excited because these are young entrepreneurs who already have ideas. All they need is to be empowered. So they're already lifting off the burden from government by creating employment. You find an average youth in the next 2-3 years who will employ between 15 and 20 people. So government is supposed to be excited and ensure that there are programs that are planned to the end. Planning to the end is to make sure that as government, you do what is called backward and forward integration. So literally, if you've got good ideas, government moves in and assists you. They lift you and make sure that you get right to the end. That's how entrepreneurs are assisted.
Another question is coming from Kunda, who says, good evening. What is your plan on mineral royalty and taxation of mines? And then he says, what is the plan or farming for farming inputs for small-scale farmers? That he adds FISIP. So what is your plan in the agriculture sector as far as FISIP is concerned, and mineral royalty as far as the mines are concerned?
Yes, Wakunda. Tapali, there's nothing new. Wakunda ngamanole kesha. Mino royalty, ukukunuma, tualisa mono kutaba nenswabe ne mama mines. Limoni mo, tatwale kwate fishinka. When it comes to taxing their profits. So tualisa ngeli they're declaring losses, yo tualipanga losi nefya shala. But ifiri indifiri kulila kofe kuma mine. So initiative twapangire ngobuteko kutila okay mwakwalipila ko royalty chimokwati ni rent pantumuli rent whether you're making a profit mu shop nangu yo you pay the owner of the shop rent takuwa batawo mkwai the past 5 days I've been having sleepless nights munganda so shall pay rent awe you know. So with mineral royalty tax, okay, we're able to get something back at least, and we made sure that this mineral royalty tax was not deductible from the gross profits. But the situation as it stands now, we are losing $600 million a month, a year as government, because Bamusokotwane gave out, first of all, he reduced mineral royalty tax from 6% to 3%. And then he made mineral royalty tax deductible. So you see, the way it works, let's take, for instance, let's take, for instance, your profit is 1,000 kwacha. Okay? Your profit is 1,000 kwacha. And you charge mineral royalty tax, you know, to this particular mine of 500. Now, your gross profit is 1,000. After my deduction, your net profit now is 400. Before you deduct your mineral royalty tax. Ero no kwisa isa deduct number mineral royalty tax. Kwisa sanga wabana mu negative. Meaning, tabaliripila pona ngufimu wa government abayo. They even carry forward their losses to the following year. So ili ngili mutendefu wa mumino yo mkwaita tukabomba ko wino next year. So what government thought that time was, mineral royalty tax will not be deductible. So ngawalipila fidia, modi case example na chipela, government was still going to tax the 400 kwacha profit, you know, that was recorded in this particular year. So, pali mineral royalty tax, I strongly feel bakundo kwebati, if we ngabe neba mukuba, ngabe neba cobalt, ngabe neba gold, abe neba zinc na tin, tufilo kwata mo benefit ile moneka. Elio, apape neba kunda epa benkama. If we get a decent return, if we get some net benefit that is decent enough, as a country, we are able to even provide for the poor by giving them more farming inputs, as it were. We are able to provide money to schools. You must understand that right now, Yalama grants wale ya pela ya 25,000 kwacha are not enough. Teachers are stressed dealing with that. But if we're getting enough from mineral royalty tax, if we're getting enough from the mines, we'll be able to give enough money to the schools in form of grants. We'll be able to supply medicines to hospitals. We'll be able to work on road infrastructure. This is a resource, if properly managed. If you hear figures of what other countries are getting from their mining resources, you will agree with me that we need to do something more. So on the farming inputs, the design of FISIP, Bakunda, the design of FISIP was such that an average of 1 million farmers, were under FISIP. So Kwale Wokutila, after 3 years of benefiting from FISIP, this farmer input support program, you graduate. At that time, the assumptions that were made were inaccurate. Yalesa Mukusangwat, even after 3 years, these particular farmers were not strong enough to stand on their own. So maybe there was need for some adjustment in terms of the quantum of support that they were receiving, so that after 3 years, they should be able to stand on their own. So as Tonse will relook at FISIP. First of all, will not discontinue, will continue with FISIP. But then we'll have to enhance it so that the farmers that benefit from this particular support are kept there for a period of time, after which they graduate, because now they'll be able to stand on their own. So it all boils down to the support that you give them. If you give them 6 bags or 8 bags as it were, you will realize that they are unable to grow enough to grow to a level where they can stand on their own. But maybe if the quantities are adjusted upwards, you find after some time the farmer will become a medium scale farmer, that he may not even be interested to go and access this assistance. But of course, there will be expert documents that to be done on this particular sector so that we're able to come back to you and say precisely what we'll do with the farming inputs.
Well, you've heard it from here. Zabige has spoken, and the Tonse Alliance president, Honorable Brian Mundubile, has spoken on various issues, and thanks to your questions, he's been able to respond to some of the things that are still burning on your hearts. Remember, keep sending those particular questions throughout the week. If you've got something that's burning on your heart, send it through, and we'll be able to address it every Friday right here on the Brian Mundubile Facebook page and all the other platforms like Ifintu Nilungu and many other Facebook platforms that we are live on currently. Also, you can catch this on Hot FM on Monday at 9 hours. It will be live, and you can actually get to listen to the conversation that we've had here. My name is Bucci, and this is it for BM8 Unfiltered for this particular week.
BM8 UNFILTERED.